Admiral Vextar's clawed hands gripped his command chair as he stared at the human face on his screen. Ben Harris looked like any other elderly member of this primitive species, but his calm confidence suggested he knew secrets that could shake the foundations of the Zelkari Empire. "You claim to have hidden technology for 50 years, the Admiral said, his voice carefully controlled despite his growing fear. "Impossible. Our scouts have monitored this world for months. We have seen your primitive rockets and basic weapons." Ben smiled, the expression of a teacher about to reveal an important lesson. "Admiral, you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Every probe your empire sent to Earth was allowed to observe our public technology while our real defenses remained hidden. We learned long ago that the galaxy is full of predators who prey on those they perceive as weak." From his position deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Ben gestured to Dr. Sullivan. She activated a new series of displays that showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. Hidden bases on the ocean floor, massive facilities buried beneath continents, and orbital platforms that had been cloaked for decades. "The crashed ship we found in 1947 taught us valuable lessons about galactic politics," Ben continued. "The Vorthans who built it had made the mistake of revealing their peaceful nature too early. They were destroyed by a coalition of aggressive species who feared their technology. We decided humanity would not make the same error." Admiral Vextar felt his confidence crumbling as he studied the energy readings from the human platforms. His science officer, Thekra, was frantically analyzing the data, his scaled features growing pale with each new discovery. "Admiral," Thekra whispered, "these quantum signatures suggest they can manipulate space-time itself. The energy output from their smallest platform exceeds our entire flagship's power core." But Admiral Vextar was not ready to admit defeat. The reputation of the Zelkari Empire rested on conquest and domination. To retreat from a single planet would destroy his career and possibly his life when the High Command learned of his failure. "Even if you have advanced technology," the Admiral snarled, "you are still only one planet against the might of the Empire. We have fleets across 17 star systems. You cannot fight us all." Ben's smile faded, replaced by a look of grim determination. "Admiral, let me show you how wrong you are about that." He nodded to Colonel Mitchell, who activated communication, links to every Zelkari fleet in the galaxy. The displays on alien ships across 17 star systems suddenly showed the same thing. Massive human platforms emerging from quantum stealth fields around every Zelkari world. "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded, watching as reports flooded in from across the Empire. Every fleet commander was reporting the same phenomenon, advanced human technology appearing from nowhere around their positions. Ben stood up from his command chair, his old bones creaking slightly. "For 50 years, we have been studying your empire, Admiral. Every ship, every base, every outpost. We know the location of every Zelkari facility in the galaxy. While you were watching Earth, we were watching all of you." The scope of humanity's deception was staggering. Not only had they hidden their technology on Earth, they had secretly deployed it across the entire Zelkari Empire. Quantum stealth. Fields had concealed human platforms in every star system under Empire control. Dr. Sullivan reported from her station, "All galactic platforms are online, Ben. We have complete coverage of every Zelkari installation, fleet positions, supply depots, command centers, everything." Admiral Vextar realized that in a single moment, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely. The Empire's greatest strength, its vast territory and numerous fleets, had become a weakness. Every ship was now surrounded by superior human technology. "You see, Admiral," Ben explained, "the Vorthan technology we recovered didn't just teach us about weapons and defenses. It taught us about strategy. The greatest victory is won before the first shot is fired." Desperate and humiliated, Admiral Vextar made a fatal decision born of pride and fury. If he could not conquer Earth, he would ensure that no one could have it. His clawed finger moved toward the control that would activate his fleet's antimatter cores. "If I cannot claim this world for the Empire," he hissed, "then I will make sure it burns. All ships, arm antimatter cores for simultaneous detonation. We will turn this entire star system into a warning to others who dare defy the Zelkari Empire." The threat was real and immediate. Antimatter explosions from 300 ships would indeed sterilize Earth's solar system, killing billions of innocent people out of pure spite. It was the last desperate act of a cornered predator, but Ben Harris had anticipated this possibility. "Kate, initiate temporal containment fields around all Zelkari vessels. Don't let them take anyone else down with them." Dr. Sullivan's hands moved swiftly across her quantum controls. "Temporal barriers activating now. All hostile vessels are being isolated in quantum bubbles." Admiral Vextar pressed the detonation button, and across his fleet, antimatter cores exploded with the fury of miniature stars. But the explosions were trapped in quantum fields that stretched individual microseconds into infinity. The destructive energy was frozen between moments, unable to spread beyond the immediate vicinity of each ship. From the outside, the Zelkari fleet appeared to be surrounded by tiny, motionless suns. The antimatter explosions were happening, but they were trapped in temporal bubbles that prevented their energy from reaching anything else. "Impossible," Vextar whispered as he watched his final gambit fail. His ship's hull began to glow from the contained antimatter explosion, but the quantum field held the destruction in check. Ben's voice came through the communication link one final time. "Admiral, even in defeat, you chose the path of destruction over the possibility of peace. This is why the Zelkari Empire ends today." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as Zelkari commanders made the same desperate choice. Fleet after fleet activated their antimatter cores, only to find their destructive power contained by human technology that could manipulate time itself. In the White House Situation Room, President Morrison watched the alien fleet trapped in their own frozen explosions. "Ben, what happens now?" "Now we give them a choice, Jake, the same choice they gave us, but with a very different outcome." Colonel Mitchell coordinated with human platforms across 17 star systems. "All galactic stations report successful containment. Every Zelkari fleet is neutralized. We have complete control of the situation." Ben walked slowly back to his command chair, feeling every one of his 73 years. The moment he had spent half a century preparing for was finally here. The Zelkari Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for generations, was completely at humanity's mercy. "Open a channel to all surviving Zelkari personnel," Ben ordered. "It's time to offer them something their empire never gave to others, a chance at redemption." The hunter had become the hunted, and now it was time to see if the galaxy was ready for a new kind of leadership. Admiral Vextar stared at his weapon displays in disbelief. Every indicator showed that his fleet had fired their most powerful weapons at Earth. Energy readings confirmed the plasma beams had been discharged, but the planet below remained untouched, as if the attacks had simply vanished into nothing. "Commander Zith, run full diagnostics on all weapon systems immediately," the Admiral ordered, his voice tight with confusion and growing anger. "This is impossible. No known technology can make energy beams disappear." "Diagnostics complete, Admiral," Zith reported after a few tense moments. "All weapons are functioning perfectly. The beams were fired successfully. They just stopped existing at approximately 50,000 kilometers from the planet's surface." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vextar felt a cold touch of fear. In 17 conquered worlds, he had never encountered anything like this. Energy shields could block or reflect weapons, but they left visible traces. This was something else entirely. "Send probe ships forward," he commanded. "I want to know what kind of defensive field they have around that planet." 3 small Zelkari scout ships moved toward Earth, their sensors scanning everything in their path. As they crossed the 50,000-kilometer mark, the impossible happened again. The ships simply vanished from all sensors. No explosion, no debris, no energy signature. They were just gone. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Ben Harris monitored the quantum displacement fields through his holographic interface. The technology was working exactly as designed. Each probe ship had been translated into a parallel dimension. Completely unharmed, but utterly unreachable. "Kate, how are our power levels?" Ben asked Dr. Sullivan. "Holding steady at 92% capacity," she replied, her green eyes focused on the quantum energy readings. "The continental generators are performing better than our best simulations predicted. We can maintain this level of displacement indefinitely." Colonel Mitchell looked up from his communication station with excitement in his voice. "Ben, I'm getting reports from all our hidden orbital platforms. The aliens haven't detected any of them yet. Phoenix Station is ready to deploy. Dragon platform is standing by." Ben nodded thoughtfully. "Not yet, Ryan. Let them try a few more conventional attacks first. I want them to understand that their standard weapons are completely useless before we show them what we can really do." Above Earth, Admiral Vextar was becoming desperate. He had lost 3 probe ships and countless weapon discharges to whatever force protected this primitive planet. His reputation in the Empire depended on quick, decisive victories. This was turning into an embarrassing disaster. "Admiral," Commander Zith said hesitantly, "perhaps we should contact the Empire High Command for additional support. This level of defensive technology should not exist on a primitive world." "No," Vextar snarled. "I will not admit failure to the High Command over a species that barely has spaceflight. There must be an explanation." He paused, thinking furiously. "Send more ships forward, but spread them out. Whatever defensive grid they have must have gaps." 20 Zelkari warships approached Earth from different angles, their weapons ready to fire the moment they cleared whatever barrier protected the planet. But as each ship reached the 50,000-kilometer perimeter, the same thing happened. They simply ceased to exist, vanishing without a trace. Now Admiral Vextar had lost nearly 10% of his fleet to an enemy that had yet to fire a single shot. The remaining ship commanders were growing nervous, their confident chatter replaced by worried silence. In the White House Situation Room, President Morrison watched the alien ships disappear one by one on his satellite displays. His advisors sat in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. "Mr. President," Defense Secretary Campbell said quietly, "what exactly is happening up there? Our satellites show the alien ships just vanishing into thin air." Before Morrison could answer, his secure phone rang again. "Yes, Ben? Jake, it's time for Phase 3. I want you to contact Admiral Vextar directly. Tell him that if he wants his missing ships back, he needs to listen very carefully to what you have to say." The president nodded and signaled to his communications officer. Within moments, his face appeared on the bridge of the Zelkari flagship. Admiral Vextar's reptilian features were twisted with rage and frustration. "Human leader," the admiral hissed. "What kind of trickery is this? Where are my ships?" Morrison's voice remained calm and steady. "Admiral Vextar, your ships are perfectly safe. They have simply been moved to a place where they cannot harm anyone. If you would like them returned, I suggest you listen to my proposal." "Proposal?" Vexatar's yellow eyes blazed with fury. "You are in no position to make proposals, Primitive. Tell me where my ships are, or I will use my remaining fleet to crack your planet like an egg." "Admiral, you've already tried that approach. It didn't work very well for you." Morrison leaned forward slightly. "Let me save you some time and embarrassment. Your remaining weapons will have the same effect as the first ones. Your ships will disappear just like the others. The question is, how many vessels are you willing to lose before you accept that humanity is not as defenseless as you believed?" Ben Harris smiled as he listened to the conversation through his communication link. This was the moment he had waited 50 years for. The moment when humanity would finally reveal that they were not the primitive species the galaxy believed them to be. "Kate, begin Phase 3 deployment," Ben commanded. It's time to show them what we've really been building. Dr. Sullivan's hands moved across her quantum control panels. Initiating orbital platform decloak sequence. All hidden stations are powering up. Around Earth's orbit, massive structures began to shimmer into existence. They had been there all along, hidden by the same quantum technology that made the Zelkari weapons disappear. But now they revealed themselves in all their advanced glory. The platforms were unlike anything the Zelkari had ever seen. Smooth, crystalline surfaces reflected starlight in patterns that seemed to bend space itself. Strange geometric shapes defied conventional understanding of engineering. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible for a species that had barely reached their own moon. Admiral Vextar stared at the displays showing these impossible structures. What are those things? How long have they been there? His science officer, a nervous Zelkari named Thekra, ran frantic scans. Admiral, these platforms are reading energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. The quantum resonance patterns suggest technology that is centuries beyond our own. On Earth, Colonel Mitchell coordinated with the newly revealed orbital stations. Phoenix platform reports full operational status. Dragon Station is online and ready. Arctic Orbital is standing by for orders. Ben Harris stood up from his command chair and stretched. At 73 years old, he had devoted most of his life to this moment. The crashed ship they found in New Mexico in 1947 hadn't belonged to the Zelkari Empire. It had belonged to an ancient race called the Vorthans, who had left behind technology beyond imagining. Open a channel to all Zelkari ships, Ben said. It's time they learned the truth about Earth. His weathered face appeared on every alien vessel in the fleet. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of decades of preparation and the calm confidence of someone who held all the cards. Admiral Vextar, my name is Ben Harris. For the past 50 years, I have been the director of a project your species was never supposed to discover. We call it Project Lazarus, and today you become the first alien civilization to witness its full capabilities. Admiral Vextar's scales turned pale as he realized that everything his empire believed about Earth was wrong. The countdown had reached 0, but instead of Earth's destruction, it marked the beginning of the Zelkari Empire's greatest defeat. Admiral Vexthara watched the final seconds tick away on her countdown display. 3, 2, 1, 0. Fire! She commanded. The flagship's main weapon charged with a sound like thunder, energy gathered at the massive gun barrel. The shot that would destroy New York was ready to launch. Then everything went wrong. The first sign of trouble came from below. What Vexithera had thought were primitive power plants suddenly erupted with light. Beams of pure energy shot up from Earth's surface, like angry fingers reaching for the stars. "Admiral, we're taking fire!" shouted her tactical officer. "Multiple contacts! Unknown weapon types!" Vexithara stared at her screens in disbelief. The energy readings were impossible. These weapons were more powerful than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. How could a primitive planet have such technology? "Shields up. Return fire," she ordered. But her ship never got the chance. From Genesis Station, Commander Alex Turner had watched the alien flagship charge its weapons. The moment the countdown reached 0, he gave his order. All weapons, fire at will. Genesis Station unleashed hell. Particle beams that had been hidden behind false panels now spoke with voices of destruction. The first volley caught 3 Zephyrian cruisers completely by surprise. Their shields collapsed instantly. The ships broke apart like toys. "Direct hits on targets 7, 12, and 15, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "Enemy shields down on targets 2 and 9. Turner smiled grimly. "Keep firing. Don't give them time to adapt." Across Earth's surface, the planet revealed its true nature. Every major city had been turned into a fortress. Buildings that looked like offices and shopping centers opened hidden panels. Surface-to-orbit cannons emerged from underground bunkers. The entire planet began shooting at once. In New York, the very city the aliens had planned to destroy, massive guns rose from Central Park. The Statue of Liberty's base opened to reveal a weapon that could punch through battleship armor. Even the Brooklyn Bridge had been built with hidden gun ports. Dr. Samuel Hayes watched his creation come to life. Project Prometheus turned Earth's magnetic field into a weapon. Energy that had been building for days suddenly discharged in a coordinated pattern. Lightning that could melt steel reached up from the planet's surface, all nodes firing, reported Dr. Kelly Wilson. The grid is operating at full capacity. Hayes watched alien ships die on his screens. Ships that had seemed unstoppable were now burning wrecks. "Kelly, how long can we maintain this rate of fire?" 37 minutes at current power levels. That should be enough. Admiral Vexithara's flagship shook as energy beams hit its shields. Warning lights flashed red across the bridge. Her ship was taking damage from weapons that should not exist. Damage. "Report!" she shouted over the noise of failing systems. "Forward shields down to 60%, her engineering officer called back. "Hull breaches on deck 7 and 12. We're losing power to the main guns." Vexithara looked at her tactical display. Half her fleet was already gone. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years were being destroyed by a planet they had thought was defenseless. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Her question was answered when the moon itself began to move. Captain Jerry Mason stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty as his ship rose from its hiding place beneath the lunar surface. The massive vessel had been built in secret. Over 15 years. Now it emerged like a sleeping giant awakening. "All systems green," reported Commander Beth Taylor. "Weapons charged and ready." Mason looked at the alien fleet hanging in space. They were confused and scattered. Perfect targets. "Target the flagship," he ordered. "Full power to forward guns." The Liberty was 3 times larger than any Zephyrian warship. Its weapons had been designed to destroy planets. Against a single ship, even a flagship, the result was never in doubt. The Liberty's main guns fired. The blast lit up space like a small sun. When the light faded, Admiral Vexithara's flagship was gone. Only burning debris remained. Back on Earth, Colonel Ryan Carter watched his stealth fighters reveal themselves. For hours, they had drifted through space looking like space junk. Now they dropped their disguises and attacked. "All wings, you are weapons free," Carter announced. "Show them what Earth engineering can do." 473 fighters suddenly appeared on Zephyrian sensors. Each one carried antimatter torpedoes that could crack a moon. The alien fleet found itself surrounded by enemies they had never seen coming. Lieutenant Commander Steve Phillips approached the second alien, flagship in his disguised transport. The ship still looked like a fleeing cargo vessel. The aliens paid no attention to it. "Package delivery to control," Phillips said calmly. 30 seconds to target." "Copy, package delivery. Good luck." Phillips smiled. Luck has nothing to do with it. His ship rammed into the alien flagship at full speed. The antimatter warhead detonated on impact. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from Mars. When the light faded, both ships were gone. All across the solar system, humanity's hidden weapons came to life. Asteroid mining stations revealed themselves as weapon platforms. Research. Vessels dropped their disguises and began hunting alien ships. Even the space elevators on Earth were shooting back with guns hidden in their structures. Admiral Vexithara found herself aboard an escape pod, watching her empire's fleet burn. Of the 207 ships that had attacked Earth, fewer than 30 remained functional, and those were trying to retreat. She activated her emergency transmitter. "This is Admiral Vexithara to Zephyrian High Command. Earth is not what our scouts reported. Repeat, Earth is not defenseless. They have weapons that match our own. Request immediate reinforcement." But her message would never reach the Empire. Commander Rachel Torres had been waiting in the outer system, with a fleet disguised as cargo ships and research vessels. No Zephyrian, Ship would escape to warn their masters. Control. This is Outer Ring Defense, Torres reported. All escape routes are sealed. No alien ships will leave this system. On Earth, President Morrison stood in his bunker watching the battle turn in humanity's favor. His calm mask finally slipped, and he smiled. "Sir," said General Johnson, "how long have you known about all this?" Morrison looked at his defense chief. "Pete, when I became president, they gave me a briefing about Earth's real defenses. Do you know what my first thought was?" Johnson shook his head. "I thought, the galaxy has no idea what's coming. Above them, the last alien ships died in balls of fire. Earth's secret was finally revealed. Humanity was not weak. They had been preparing for this day for 60 years. The Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had given Earth time to get ready. The massive alien ships appeared without warning above Earth's blue skies. 300 vessels, each one larger than any city, blocked out the sun as they formed a perfect circle around the planet. The ships were dark gray with sharp edges that cut through space like knives. Strange purple lights pulsed along their hulls, casting an eerie glow on the clouds below. On the largest ship at the center of the formation, Admiral Vextar stood on his command bridge. His reptilian skin was covered in metallic scales that reflected the purple light from his ship's weapons. His yellow eyes stared down at the small blue world beneath him with contempt. This was supposed to be easy. His scouts had watched this planet for months, and the reports were always the same. Primitive rockets, simple nuclear bombs, and no real defenses to speak of. The Admiral's clawed hand pressed a button on his command chair. A holographic display showed Earth's pathetic attempts at space technology, chemical rockets that barely reached their own moon, space stations made of metal and plastic, no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel. These humans were centuries behind the Zelkari Empire. "Commander Zith," the Admiral called to his second-in-command. "Begin the standard ultimatum transmission. Give them 10 minutes to surrender, then we destroy their major cities." Commander Zith, a smaller but equally fierce Zelkari, bowed his scaled head. "Yes, Admiral. The humans will submit like all the others." Far below on Earth, President Jake Morrison sat in the White House Situation Room deep beneath the ground. The room was filled with screens showing the alien fleet above. Around the long table sat his most trusted advisors, their faces pale with worry. The president was a tall man in his 50s with gray hair and calm blue eyes that had seen many crises, but nothing like this. Defense Secretary Lisa Campbell spoke first. Her voice was tense as she read from her tablet. "Mr. President, our satellites went dark 30 minutes ago. We think the aliens disabled them. Our conventional military forces are standing by, but honestly, there's nothing we can do against ships that size." General Pete Rodriguez, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, nodded grimly. "Our biggest nuclear weapons would barely scratch the hull of one of those ships. We're looking at technology that's hundreds of years ahead of ours." The president's aide, a young woman named Amy Turner, burst into the room. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the alien fleet. They want to speak with you directly." On the main screen, Admiral Vextar's frightening face appeared. His voice was deep and threatening, translated by some kind of universal device. "Primitive humans of Earth. I am Admiral Vextar of the Zelkari Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our glorious civilization." The Admiral's yellow eyes seemed to look directly at President Morrison. "You have exactly 10 minutes to surrender all your resources and submit to imperial rule. Your governments will be dissolved. Your military will be disbanded. Your people will serve the Empire. If you refuse, we will destroy your major population centers and take what we want from the ashes." The transmission showed images of other worlds the Empire had conquered. Cities turned to glass, continents stripped of all life, entire species reduced to slavery or extinction. The message was clear: submit or die. "You have 10 minutes, Admiral." Vextar repeated. Use them wisely. The screen went dark, leaving the Situation Room in heavy silence. Defense Secretary Campbell broke the quiet first. Mr. President, what are your orders? Before Morrison could answer, his secure phone rang. The caller ID showed only a number he recognized from his briefings as president. A number he was told to call only in the most extreme circumstances. Hello, Ben, the president said as he answered. The voice on the other end belonged to Ben Harris, an old man in his 70s who had worked for NASA for 40 years before retiring to what everyone thought was a quiet life in Colorado. But Ben Harris had never really retired. Jake, I'm watching the news. Are you in the Situation Room? Ben's voice was surprisingly calm. Yes, and we're running out of options fast. These aliens have technology we can't match. Ben chuckled, a sound that seemed out of place given the situation. Don't worry about it, Jake. Just play along for a few more minutes. Trust me on this one. 3 levels beneath Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, Ben Harris stood in a control room that officially didn't exist. The room was filled with technology that looked nothing like anything Earth was supposed to have. Smooth, curved displays showed quantum equations. Crystalline control panels hummed with energy. In the center of the room sat a chair surrounded by holographic interfaces that responded to Ben's thoughts. Dr. Kate Sullivan stood beside him, her hands dancing over controls that manipulated forces most humans had never heard of. She was younger than Ben in her 40s, with short brown hair and intense green eyes. Like Ben, she had dedicated her life to a secret that would change everything. The quantum field generators are online, Kate reported. All 7 continental arrays are ready. The orbital platforms are still hidden but prepared to deploy. Colonel Ryan Mitchell coordinated with hidden facilities around the world from his position at another control station. He was a career military officer who had been read into the project 5 years ago. Even he didn't know everything about what they had built. Phoenix Base reports ready. Dragon Base reports ready. All sites are standing by for your command, Ben, Mitchell said. Ben looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 8 minutes and 30 seconds remained until the alien deadline. For 50 years, ever since that crashed ship in New Mexico, humanity had been preparing for this day. The technology they found in that wreckage hadn't belonged to the Zelkari Empire. It came from an older, wiser species that had learned too late the cost of revealing their strength too early. Not yet, Ben said quietly. Let them think they're winning a little longer. Back in space, Admiral Vextar watched Earth's cities through his ship's sensors. Millions of humans went about their daily lives, apparently unaware that their world was about to end. Some looked up at the alien ships with fear, others with curiosity, but none seemed to be preparing for war. Pathetic, the Admiral muttered. Commander Zith, begin charging the primary weapons. Target their largest population centers first. New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing. The usual demonstration should convince them to surrender. Yes, Admiral. Weapons charging now. 7 minutes. Until firing sequence. On Earth, President Morrison stared at the alien ships on his screen. His advisors waited for orders that could save or doom humanity. The Defense Secretary suggested launching everything they had. The General recommended immediate evacuation of major cities. But the President remembered Ben's calm voice and chose to wait. The countdown continued. 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes. The Empire thought Earth was unarmed. They had no idea how wrong they were. The last Zephyrian warship exploded in a ball of fire above Earth's atmosphere. Commander Rachel Torres watched from her command ship as the debris scattered into space. The alien fleet that had seemed so powerful just hours ago was now nothing but burning metal. Control. This is Outer Ring Defense, Torres reported to Earth. All enemy vessels destroyed or captured. No survivors detected attempting to escape the system. Far below on Earth, President Morrison stood in his bunker surrounded by cheering staff members. General Johnson looked stunned. Defense Secretary Linda Carter sat in her chair with her mouth open. None of them had imagined Earth possessed such power. "Sir," said Amy Davis, "the world is asking for explanations. Every news network wants to know how we did this." Morrison nodded. The secret was out now. There was no point in hiding anymore. "Schedule a global broadcast for 1 hour from now," he said. "It's time people knew the truth." At Genesis Station, Commander Alex Turner surveyed the damage to his facility. 3 of his weapon arrays had been destroyed by return fire, but the station itself was intact. More importantly, they had captured 2 intact alien ships. "Sarah, what's the status on those prizes?" Turner asked Lieutenant Kim. "Both ships are secured, sir. Engineering teams are already aboard studying their technology. Dr. Hayes says the antimatter systems alone will advance our research by decades." Turner smiled. Earth had not just defended itself. It had gained valuable technology that would make them even stronger. On the lunar surface, Captain Jerry Mason walked through the bridge of the USS Liberty. His ship had taken some hits, but nothing serious. The real battleship had proven itself against alien technology. "Beth, how many enemy ships did we personally account for?" Mason asked his first officer. Commander Taylor checked her records. 17 confirmed kills, sir, including their flagship. "Not bad for our first real battle." Mason looked out at Earth hanging in space. The blue planet looked peaceful now, but he knew it would never be the same. Humanity had revealed its true strength. There was no going back to the old world of secrets. Dr. Samuel Hayes stood in the control room of Project Prometheus. The Tesla defense grid had performed beyond all expectations. Every weapon node had functioned perfectly. The planet's magnetic field had become humanity's greatest weapon. "Sam, we're getting readings from all over the system," said Dr. Kelly Wilson. "The hidden installations are reporting in. We didn't lose a single major facility." Hayes nodded, with satisfaction. "How many alien ships did we capture intact?" 15, plus wreckage from dozens more. We'll be studying alien technology for years." "Good. We're going to need every advantage we can get." Wilson looked confused. "Why? We won." Hayes turned to face her. "Kelly, we just destroyed a Zephyrian invasion fleet. When they don't report back, the Empire will send a larger force. This was just the beginning." At her command center in Cheyenne, Mountain General Lisa Brooks coordinated the cleanup operation. Alien survivors were being captured and questioned. Technology was being recovered from wrecked ships. The hidden network that had defended Earth was now preparing for what came next. "Ma'am," said Colonel Ryan Carter, "we're receiving reports from all sectors. Total enemy losses are confirmed at 194 ships destroyed, 13 captured intact. And our losses? Surprisingly light. We lost 7 fighter craft and had minor damage to 12 installations. No major systems destroyed." Brooks smiled. 60 years of preparation paid off. She activated the global communication network. Around the world, the leaders of Earth's secret defense program were linking up for the first time without hiding their identities. "Ladies and gentlemen," Brooks announced, "Phase 1 is complete. Earth has revealed itself as a military power. Now we begin Phase 2. Admiral Vexathera sat in a holding cell aboard Genesis Station. Her Empire's fleet was gone. Her crews were dead or captured. She had failed in the most complete way possible. Commander Turner stood outside her cell. "Admiral, my government would like to discuss terms with your Empire." Vexathera laughed bitterly. "Terms? You destroyed our fleet. What terms could you possibly want?" "Surrender," Turner said simply. "Complete and unconditional surrender of all Zephyrian forces." "You're insane. The Empire has thousands of ships, hundreds of worlds. You've won one battle." Turner smiled. "Admiral, you really don't understand what just happened. Earth didn't just defend itself. We've been preparing for war with your empire. For 60 years, this was our test run. He activated a wall screen showing Earth's orbital space. Where once there had been simple satellites and research stations, massive weapon platforms now floated openly. The planet had dropped all pretense of being peaceful. We've been building warships in hidden facilities throughout the solar system, Turner continued. We've been establishing weapon platforms on asteroids and moons. We've been recruiting allies from species your empire has oppressed. Vexathara stared at the display. How many ships do you have? Enough. President Morrison's global broadcast reached every nation on Earth. He stood behind his desk in the Oval Office, but now the flags of all Earth's nations stood behind him. My fellow humans, he began, today you witness something that has been 60 years in the making. In 1962, an alien scout ship crashed in our Nevada desert. We kept it secret. We studied it. We learned from it. Around the world, people listened in amazement as their president revealed the truth. For 6 decades, every space program has had dual purposes. Every research facility has hidden military applications. Every advancement in technology has been tested for defensive use. Today, that preparation saved our world. Morrison paused, letting his words sink in. But saving Earth was only the first step. The Zephyrian Empire has enslaved 47 worlds. They have committed genocide against species that refuse to submit. They came here expecting to add Earth to their collection of conquered planets. His voice hardened. They were wrong. Earth will not be conquered. Earth will not submit. And Earth will not allow their crimes to continue. At military bases around the world, ships that had been hidden for decades were now rolling out into the open. The USS Liberty was joined by 12 other battleships that had been built in secret. Hundreds of cruisers and destroyers emerged from underground shipyards. General Brooks stood in her new command center, which was no longer hidden beneath a mountain. The facility now extended above ground, openly displaying its military nature, all. Task forces, this is Earth Command, she announced. Operation Galactic Freedom is now authorized. You may begin offensive operations against Zephyrian targets. Across human space, the hidden fleets began to move. Ships that had pretended to be cargo vessels revealed their weapons. Stations that had looked like research facilities launched fighter squadrons. The trap that had caught the invasion fleet was just the beginning. Humanity was done hiding. They had been the galaxy's best-kept secret. Now they were ready to become its newest superpower. The Empire had thought Earth was unarmed. They had learned how wrong they were. Soon, the rest of the galaxy would learn what happened when humans decided to fight back. The countdown had reached 0, but instead of Earth's destruction, it marked the beginning of the Empire's end.